It has quite affected him, especially in the latter years. I'd say the last 5 or 10 years, it's really affected him badly.
It's not commonly known. People don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I first started with a mild tremor just in my right hand, and about 10 years ago, and it has progressed to, so it affects all my arm, my head, my torso, and now in my right leg. It is predominantly on my right hand side, but I do have some positional tremor on my left hand side.
One of the strangest things about essential tremor is nobody knows what you're talking about. Nobody's heard of it. And they always think you've got Parkinson's, and they look incredibly worried and their faces go white and all the rest of it, because they assume that that is the only reason for your condition. What is particularly odd about this is that there are 8 times as many people with essential tremor as there are with Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a much, much rarer condition. And yet, if you said essential tremor in the street, only 1 in 10 people would know what you were talking about.
When you go out in the public, people don't know about it, so do think that you're nervous, anxious, or maybe have a drink problem. As soon as I hold my hand up, the tremors get worse. My GP had never heard of it.
So I started skating at 9. It progressed very well. I won the Junior Canadian Championships in 1967. In 69, which was an Olympic qualifying year, I felt quite confident until doing figures in the competition. The goal of the figure is to make the circle. It will leave a mark on the ice, and then you have to go over that line that you've already made. And you're trying to balance on that one edge. And I could hardly keep my balance. It was a disaster. I don't know how this will be, but this is pretty average. If I hold tight, push my elbows tight in, then it will stay steadier. Mostly you can't read anything that I write.
Terrible handwriting, always getting in trouble with it. Yes, it held me back. It sort of governs your life. Governs your life, every last minute of it, as it were.
For instance, when we went on a cruise, we'd go down to breakfast and we would hide away in a corner, and I would have to go and get everything for him, and he would sit with his back to everybody so they couldn't see him eating.
If there was a treatment that was out there that could help me get back to my normal everyday activities, just being able to keep me in work, and do the simple things like dressing myself without having my partner having to help, then it's just life-changing.
And now, at last, a very new kind of treatment for this very old condition has recently been discovered. A team in London has led the way in offering the new treatment.
That's fine. The idea of today's procedure is to try and stop this happening. You okay?
And a team in Toronto took crucial steps in the development of the new techniques. The patient goes into an MRI scanner, their head surrounded by water. They're going to have high-intensity sound beams targeted at a particular brain region, and the water reduces distortions in these sound beams.
We've got the patient in the scanner, and we are about to start scanning through the brain to work out the coordinates that we're going to set to hit the right spot. This is the target that we are going for. That will be our first low-power sonication. The area to be treated is very consistent between patients. It's called the nucleus ventralis intermedius, and it's more or less the same for virtually all patients. But to make sure that that is the right place, we use low power sonications initially, which are entirely reversible in their effect on the tissue, but we can see their reversible effect on the patient's tremor. So we utilize low power until we get an appropriate amelioration of the symptoms. Once we've seen that, we can go up to a higher power and do an irreversible lesion in the correct place.
Before the treatment, patients are asked to draw a spiral.
So this shows the tremor very nicely. It also actually shows the axis of the tremor, so you can see that the spikes are really pointing in that plane.
So this is the 6th sonication. He's had a significant improvement in his tremor so far. We've targeted a slightly higher area than we were doing previously, 2 millimeters higher, which we hope will take the rest of the tremor.
So it's analogous to bombing a site in a city. If you want to hit a particular target, you want to minimize the collateral damage around the target. And so we're trying to tighten up the accuracy of the lesion without it spreading out to other areas of the brain that we don't want it to get to. So it's much but one can see that there's a quite marked improvement in the tremor. The big jagged parts of the tremor have now disappeared. Just hold your hand up straight. Wow. And spread the fingers out. And now just like this, just like that. Okay, like that. Brilliant. And touch my finger. And now your nose. And now my finger. Okay, I'm very pleased. You've come out of the operation. There's no bad effect. And I would say the tremor's virtually gone.
Really what it...
Life-changing.
Life-changing.
In the past, in order to do this type of surgery, it would be necessary to put a probe deep into the brain with very serious risks involved. And I think realistically this will move to an outpatient-only procedure. And so now we're able to do brain surgery in the middle of the brain in outpatients, which is quite incredible.
As an outpatient, stunning.
She was instructed to write before the treatment, "This is a sample of my best handwriting." If you know what she's written, you can almost make out the words, but if you didn't have that prior knowledge, you wouldn't be able to read this.
That's amazing.
Is it better, Heather?
Oh God, you have no idea. I don't even have my glasses on and I'm writing.
Pretty good, eh?
You are awesome. Thank you.
So you've still got the tremor on the left, but it's almost completely disappeared on the right.
It's just amazing.
Just bring your hands up to your nose like this for me. Good. Keep them there so you can see a real difference there. The left hand was always slightly worse than the right.
The left was the worst, yeah.
But you went for the right side because that's your dominant hand.
Yeah, rather than retrain the whole.
Yeah, just turn your hands up like this for me. Good, going nice and still on that right side, and then this way. Good.
Can you hold both your hands out? Because you're the first to have had both done, in this country or anywhere, I think.
Yeah, that's both of them there. And that's when it's worse, when they're fully extended. Because you'll notice people who've got tremor tend to keep their elbows in like that to limit the amount of tremor that they get.
I think this deserves a round of applause myself. So now he can do all the cooking and all the chores, can he?
We shall see.
When we first came home after the bilateral, I purposely took Marion and son to a local eatery. During the meal I said, "Would you like another Guinness?" And I went over and I got 2 pints of Guinness and carried them across the floor, and I couldn't have even had dreamt of that before. Not even dreamt of it. 2 full pints, and just such an achievement for me. And it is, in my opinion, like magic. You go in with it, come out without it. It's just,
Demonstrate with your hands how well it all works now.
I can do things with my hands now, pick up things. I can take out my glasses out of the case and put them on without it going you know, like that, or without me dropping them like the case like that, you know. It's just, you know, it is so simple, it's not true. Now I've been fixed up myself, I just want other people to be so. I would like it to be available to anybody with extreme tremor that cannot be treated with any form of medicine.